What's going on, boys? Today we're going to be replacing these crappy headlights with these headlights. I got them off of Amazon and we'll show you how to put them on there. This is on a 2007 Freightliner Columbia. Now these headlights, when I bought them, they were advertised as projector headlamp assemblies. Yeah, I guess technically, but man, these things suck. I just never liked them. These lights are way cheaper. I think this had 4.6 stars on Amazon and quite a few reviews too. So that's what I was looking for. So you can see on the back side of these headlamps, this cover, it fell off a long time ago, which was letting water into here, and then the bulb would burn out. I had to patch up where a wire was coming loose on this. I just used JB Weld. I know I should have soldered it, but whatever. But at least this cap stayed on here. To take this thing off, you got a bolt right here. We got a nut right here. We got a nut right here, and I believe that's it. And here's the other side. The square cover came off on this side, so this headlight was always burning out, and it came loose on the inside, as you can see. So when I was going down the road, the light would just be doing this. Sometimes people would shine their brights at me. I'm like, I can't help it that this stupid thing broke on the inside. But yeah, I know on the other side I said to take this bolt loose. Technically, yeah, you'll take this loose, but you also got to take these two loose because this piece is going to attach to the new one. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit all these with some kind of lubricant because especially right here, this is just like fiberglass. And it's real easy to break this stuff when you turn out these bolts. And for those nuts and bolts, you definitely don't want to use any sort of impact wrench or an impact driver on that. You want to use a good old ratchet because these things can strip out that fiberglass. It can break bolts. I mean, it can really wreak havoc. So let's go ahead and get all this wiring out of the way first. Just cut these zip ties. This one. Now these headlights are kind of a pain. You gotta slide over this clip. Well, let's pull it out first. Now let's undo the wiring, and for this is the marker light. You just turn it and then you pull it out. And then this one, I had to rig something up because something broke in there. That's great. That means I'm going to have to find a new plug for the new headlight. Fantastic. Yeah, I forgot that I had it directly wired last time. Something broke and I can't remember what I did, but damn it. Hopefully Freightliner has that plug in. There's all my parts that were left over from that. Yeah, that's the plug-in I need right there. Okay, let's go ahead and pull this headlight off of here. This is a 7/16 socket. And then these top two bolts, they're 3/8 socket. Came loose pretty easily. Now let's pull this bad boy out of here. There it is. Now I should have went through this at the beginning of the video, but I'm going through it now. Before you do any of this, before I took apart any of this, I should have verified that my connections were the same. And how do you do that? Well, you just see you looking there. That's got a prong on the upper right. It's got one right here, and then it's got one on the bottom. So you gotta look at your new headlight and make sure it's the same. That one's the same, and then you do the same for this plug. Look in there, compare it to the old one. That way, you know, you don't want to put this thing on there and then your connections don't line up. So we're going to take this piece up to Freightliner and see if they can find the piece that connects to it. It's better just to go up there and show them what you're working with. Okay, so the driver's side is a little different. We only got one bolt up here. The other one broke somewhere along the way. And you can't turn this thing out. I mean, technically I could, but it's tight, it don't want to go. So we're just going to leave that bracket in there, and we got enough room here on the back side to take that nut loose and get that bolt out of there. All right, let's see if we can get it out of there. That noise you hear, by the way, is the tornado siren they play every Saturday at noon just to test it. Jeez, that one's in there. Golly. Well, we're gonna try this one again. These things are being stubborn. Great, it just broke. Fantastic. Well, hopefully these come out a little easier. Wow, they're in there too. There it is. So you see how this side has these two holes right here? This one, this one. Those are not factory. So we're gonna have to do the same over here. Just drill two holes up here. And it actually works really well because on these brackets, they got slotted holes. So you don't have to drill any new holes. And these are the screws that were used on the side with the new holes drilled. These are self-tapping screws. We already got some that I can use for the other side, and they're actually a little smaller, which is good. That means it won't do as much damage. You know, sometimes you go too big, you can crack that fiberglass. Now is the time to go ahead and use the impact. This is a 1/2 inch. Wow. Okay, we're about to use something a little stronger. All right, I think this will get it. It'll definitely break it. It's insane. There it goes. By the way, you want to make sure that these little collars fall off. Like sometimes when you pull the headlamps off, they come with them. Let's dump this out. And then this goes right out here, right there. And I'm definitely going to replace all this hardware. I'm going to look for stainless replacements for these because I'm tired of rust. Hopefully I can find stainless. It's kind of hard to find right now. I usually go to Tractor Supply, and man, it's just a mess there. So I'm off to Freightliner. This is the part I need, and I'm going to go ahead and take some pictures of this before I go, just so they know what they're looking for. All right, boys, we got the part at Freightliner. Want to go ahead and make sure it works before you roll out. You know, you can do that in there, do it out here, whatever. Yep. And not only that, you want to make sure the pins line up. You see how this one has a pin down here, and then one up here, one over here. This one, they line up. And what's cool about this is it even has a secondary lock. It says install the secondary lock supplied in the kit after mating the connections. So that once you got it hooked up, you just slide this in there. I'm assuming, yeah, it'll be like that. Just pushes in. I'm not going to do it right now. All right, boys, we're at Lowe's. I found what size this flange nut is. 1/4 inch by 20, standard pitch. So these ought to work, and since I couldn't find flange nuts that were stainless, we're just going to put some washers with it. Okay, so next order of business, we got to pull out these marker lights, and I'm not going to use these. I'm going to reuse my old ones because they're LED, they're a lot brighter. And we're just going to clean them up a little bit with this electronic cleaner. It's already pretty clean inside that though. Looks good. Clean that all off. Clean this up a little bit too. Looks pretty good. Now we can go ahead and put some of this bulb grease on there. This helps out to make sure it keeps good contact, and it also keeps it from seizing up. You know, whenever you pull them out, sometimes Sometimes they just don't want to come out. Well, this will help out with that. There we go. Now let's go ahead and put this bulb grease on the seal. This will keep water from getting into the headlamp. Doesn't take much. Just kind of smear it on around. Let's go ahead and put this in here and turn it clockwise. Boom. Okay, our next step is to go ahead and put this bracket on here. Remember, it goes on here like that. So I went to Lowe's and I got a bunch of stainless steel hardware. I got these 5/16. Okay, we're just going to leave that loose on there for now. I mean, as you can see, I didn't put a lock washer on there or any kind of thread locker. Sometimes I just like to double nut things like this, and it'll stay on there. I don't want to make it to where it's hard to get off.
That is so sweet and so weird.
Go ahead and make sure this thing fits. There it goes. Fits in there real good. So I also got some replacements for these screws. I got some stainless ones. Go ahead and put them in first. Snug it on down, not too tight. Now we can do the bottom ones, and I like to use these big fender washers on these. That way it contacts everything when you cinch it on down. And I should also mention, I use anti-seize whenever I put these nuts on there, just to make them a little easier to get off. And one thing I should mention is that these are adjustable down here at the bottom at the base, as you can see, but I just like to leave them where they are. I don't like messing with that stuff. Just snug. That'll work. Now let's go ahead and tighten this one down. This is a 13 millimeter, which is basically just ½ inch. Not too tight, it's just plastic. That'll work. Now we want to tighten that double nut on there. It's kind of tricky because we can't really see anything. But this is a perfect scenario for one of these really thin line wrenches. And you can get behind here and you can tighten it up. So we can hold the inside one with the really thin wrench, and then the outside one, we hit it with a regular wrench. Now if you couldn't see that, I know it's hard to see back here, that thin wrench is on the inside, this one is on the outside, tightening it up. Alright boys, now we got to drill these holes out. This is with a 5/16 socket. So we want to push it up as far as we can get it. We want to get it as far away from the pre-existing holes as we can. There's one. What we're hitting on. We're about to get a drill bit. Alright, we got a 1/8 drill bit. Will it fit? Oh geez. There we go. Now let's try this again. Perfect. And I'm also going to put some washers on here. I should have put them on already. Two. Now we got to move on to the electrical part. Let's go ahead and put our bulb grease on here. Smear it on the seal. Do the other one. Now we just got to plug these bad boys in and make sure they work. Now let's turn on the lights. There's our dim. Turn on our brights, and they both work. Now we need to make sure our blinker works, and it's working. And last thing I need to do for this side is put on some zip ties. Do 2 of them on this one so the zip tie will sit on there right. Do that, and then you do this. There's 2. One more. There's that. There we go. This side is done. Now we're on the other side and we got to install the new pigtail connector. So now I got out my wire strippers, and those turned out to be 16 gauge, not 14, but I always like to start a little bigger than I think it is. Don't want to start too small, then you'll cut into the wiring. And I always like to twist the wires, it just makes them a little easier to work with. Now I got to crimp on these butt connectors to the wiring, and these crimpers, they are awesome. I love these things. And I always do the butt connectors one end at a time. And when I stick the wire in the butt connector, if there's any wire that's still exposed, I just cut it a little shorter. And this is definitely a two-hand job. You want to make sure you crimp it pretty hard. And if there's not enough wire to make a good connection, just go ahead and strip it on down a little more. The wires on the new pigtail connector are pre-stripped, but I like to strip them down a little more. That way I can get a little better connection when I put them in the butt connectors. Shrink tubing goes on next before connecting the wires, and it is easy to forget. Now we can crimp the other side of the butt connector and then go ahead and do the other 2 wires and then bust out the heat gun. This thing is always very satisfying to use. Now I lost one of those clear shrink tubes, so I had to go get a black one. It's pretty basic to use. Just heat up the shrink tubing and watch it shrink. The instructions said to not use anything with a flame to shrink the tubing. Then just get my wires straightened out and go ahead and wrap it all up with my electric tape. And then once that's all wrapped up, I just put this conduit around it. This was supplied with the pigtail connection, and then a couple zip ties. They also supplied these too. And snip off the ends of them, and then just put the bulb grease on the connections, and then of course on the seal. That way it lubricates it, seals it up. Go ahead and plug it in. And while I'm at it, might as well do the actual headlights too. Just put some of that grease on the seals and on the connections, and then just snap the cover back on, and now I can go ahead and zip tie everything back up just like the other side. Snip the ends off, and that's it. We're almost to the end. Now just gotta make sure the lights work. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment. Okay, so we got the truck started up. The airbags are aired up. Just to make sure the headlights are straight, we went ahead and shut the door and turned on the lights, and as you can see, they're pretty level. Here's the brights. So not bad. I mean, the main way you can tell is just start driving down the road. People start shining their brights at you. You're gonna have to adjust them. You can have somebody, you know, like I could have my wife drive towards me while I'm coming down the road, and she could see how bright the lights are. But as far as knowing how much to go tilt it up or down or left or right, I think that's pretty good. I'm not going to mess with it. This is after installing the headlamps, and I just wanted to see if anybody was going to flash their brights at me driving down the road. Nobody did, so I'm assuming they're aligned pretty well. Visibility is, you know, it's decent. Freightliner Columbia headlamps are notorious for not having very good visibility. You can get some headlamps for this truck that really light the road up, but then people are going to be shining their brights at you, so it's a trade-off. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Drop me a comment. I'll most likely get back with you, or just do nothing. It's all good to me, boys. We'll see you on the next one. Y'all be safe out there.